Hello, good morning, welcome in to another episode
Hello.
of Good Morning Nasdaq, right here on the Clover Trading YouTube channel. It is the 28th day of January, year of our Lord 2025. I feel like this second half of the month is just crawling by like a turtle in a slow market. But this is the last week of January. Then we're fully in. We're fully into 2025, and we're happy to have you guys with us. Welcome in, Huddie. That's Huddie.
Welcome. Hi. Hello. How are we?
Happy birthday, Huddie.
Thank you. It's actually not my birthday,
You don't want
but
any comments about it?
I appreciate the warm wishes.
I'm sitting here hoping that the stream is working, that we are live and everything's going well, because we have zero comments right now, zero in the live chat. But if you guys are there, let us know. Get in there. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Um, tell us anything. Tell us anything you want. Post any questions you have, any tickers that you want to bring up, and towards the end of the show, we will talk about them and have a wonderful time discussing them. Once we get through the biggest gappers of the day, which is what we do here, we talk about the biggest gappers in small cap land, usually up 80, 90, 100 plus percent. Talk about their catalysts, why they're up, how that relates to the overall theme. Talk about the daily chart and our biases, and get on out of here at a reasonable time. Head on over to the Clover room and have a wonderful day. How's that sound, Huddy?
That sounds fantastic. Let's get on to it.
All right. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. We do like to get up towards 50. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We're on a mission to get to whatever number is one higher than right now. That's our goal and our mission. So if you can help us achieve that, which you could by hitting subscribe, that would be awesome. Fantastic. We're live every day. The market is open. All right. Gappers yesterday. We had what? One decent size one,
Um,
JG. And it kind of was a weird little funky
Yesterday
dunk.
was the deep sea gappers
Yep. What is the
that did
overall market
nothing.
at?
And
Overall
as you would kind of
market up.
expect, the lower price, the crappier China pumps, those absolutely got rocked because obviously we talked about where we are in the sequence of things and where they are in their dilutive structure. So those got pretty rocked. And then the bigger priced ones, although not much spikeage, like just kind of held and went sideways.
Yeah, I think
Just not a whole
JG
lot of
squeezed in the
action.
middle of the day and then kind of closed weak and ugly patterns on the one day.
Yeah, those are tickers I'm excited to forget about.
And then this morning, kind of a. Is this real? Is Wheeler now up 257%? No, split. Okay. Because I did not see that 2 seconds ago. Yeah, today's gapper. So yesterday you kind of have horrible news. Well, I guess it's not even horrible news. I don't know if it's news or not. The market was down significantly yesterday, and then the gappers kind of came from the one thing that was causing the markets to be down, and then you kind of had a slower day across the board. Bleeds into today, and I think maybe people more realize that the market was down, there's less buying, people are more fearful, blah, blah, blah. And we get less gappers, we get less runners. Not a lot of momentum there this morning. A lot of stocks pop up, but not really any of them are sustaining themselves, holding themselves. Biggest gapper of the day is 81%. We can start there with SLXN and
It's
head
more than
on.
80.
What?
More than 80.
Oh, my Benzinga's behind. It's up 100 now. Out of control. Where am I? There. Nope. Where am I? I'm right here, Heidi. There. Okay. Selection Therapeutics. Remember the other day when we had Eon or Aeon? What was it? Ian?
Illurion.
Allurion. Now we have Selection Therapeutics out of Israel. 5.01 million float 35 minutes ago. They report strong tumor growth reduction from systemic administration of SIL 204 in preclinical pancreatic cancer models. Let's see if there's any other news. All right. That's the news today. Strong reaction so far. 5 million flow offering ability is low. They have 7.1 months of cash left. And what do they got going on here? They got a priced offering 2024 October. Some warrants higher. They got 3.7 million January warrants at $1.35, which is just above where we're at right now. And that appears to be the big piece of dilution they got.
Yeah.
3.7 million, and we've done 31 million shares so far today. Okay, let's take a look at the Z Daily chart and talk about what we see here. Looks like a fresh new stock opened in the 40s and has since gotten demolished sub $1. No real runs to talk about, but there is some volume on this data chart sporadically. And so I guess the takeaway for me is that the stock has had bits of momentum, maybe news, maybe PRs, whatever, but it really never catches. It never turns into a big runner, never really turns into a multi-day runner. It usually just does a ton of volume, goes nowhere, and then heads lower in the weeks to come. So some of those tops are up in the high $3s or $4 area. And recently we've had a little bit of volume selling pressure to the downside as we've gone from the 170s down to 60 cents. And here we are gapping up 120% right now, up into the $1.30s. What do you think, Huddie?
Yeah, I know nothing about Selection Therapeutics and what they're trying to achieve, but yeah, long-term downtrending chart, tons of situations where we've gapped up and, created some type of top and threw in some bag holders. We got warrants at $1.35, so all of that feels to me bearish. Now, with all that being, and really the chart's been beat up in the past 2 weeks because of that news, it looks like. Now, with all that being said, the one thing that's kind of crazy is that today is the most volume that's traded in its history, and we're still in the pre-market. So although these volume bars look big now from previous days, like they might be severely dwarfed if this does somehow muster it up, kind of a big run. It is in that lower market cap, lower float area. So it definitely can move. And in its past history, it's moved down. And so the question is today, given the volume, is it going to just buck the trend already? Is this news significant? I'd be willing to say more often than not, the trend continues to be down, but anything's really possible. I don't think this dilution is anything that substantial, but they could use it.
What can they use? Sorry, I was
The
reading a question about it.
3.7 million warrants at $1.35. So maybe just drawing a line right there. You have like kind of a gap fill zone too on the daily. So potential area of resistance that we're gapping up into right now.
Yeah, and Utica Collar in the chat says SLXN says it has a $15 million equity line capacity. Is that dilutive? I didn't hear Dom say much about it. Explain that to us, Huddy, because I don't really ever talk about that.
Yeah, I don't necessarily love looking into the equity lines myself because I was more born like ATMs, convertible notes, warrants, like those are like the real nasty things. But I from what I learned, which I probably could be wrong here, equity lines kind of act like an ATM, and they can like tap in and sell money into the open market to make money from it. But I like equity line, I tend to ignore, although I think it is dilutive, and I think it is something that acts similar to an at the market offering. But I just don't see them used as often. Like so it's not something I've like really historically tracked. But it is dilutive.
Okay, that's SLXN. Not a great history here of big runs coming off the lows of its chart, doing a decent volume right now into this gap fill zone. Not one that I am particularly interested in on the long side. Spiking into resistance. Stock never really has any success in spiking. News is just okay. Doesn't really fit any themes that have been super hot right now. But it has a decently low float, 5 million, so could move more than we think. But still, as we are in the front side of this week, just trying to get an understanding of what kind of strength that we have. Overall market is up today, but that's just because it was down so much yesterday. All right, next biggest gapper of the day. Weibo. Yibo or Yibo?
Yibo.
Was this a runner yesterday?
I remember people talking about it in the room.
Yeah, I went from 3 to 17, eh? Eh? Planet Image International. Computer hardware out of China. Something that we've seen a decent amount of in the past week. I feel like random China stocks popping up. 1.78 million float. And I don't see any news. Well, today, I don't even see news yesterday. But is kind of a backside runner from yesterday. We'll talk about here in a second. They got nothing going on. They're cash flow positive, apparently. Nothing to take from their dilution tracker page. As you can see here, the little 2-day chart yesterday had a pretty significant move, I would say, from the 3s to the 17s. Complete round trip, gave it all back, and then this morning is gapping up a little bit. Part of me wonders if this is kind of pumpy, like Kyle used to short, like after the liquidation. They used to gap up the second day, and then if they had lots of volume in pre-market, he would short them for more downside. But I don't know enough about this situation to see if it's that. It kind of fits. There's no information on it, no news. There's nothing on the dilution tracker page, but I'm not certain that this is any pump or anything. But round trip yesterday, a ton of resistance into yesterday. Any bag holders, I think it's going to be very difficult for this stock to spike into those areas and hold up. So this is kind of a not one that we see every day, because usually we're not talking about gappers on day 2 and they're significantly below yesterday's levels. But yeah, another one that I'm just not too interested in. On the long side, how much downside does it really have? It's already down $17 to $5, maybe more. What do you think, Steve?
I think you kind of nailed it on the head with, why it could be gapping up. A lot of times when you see these, like, again, it's kind of hard for us to know whether this is a crummy diluted stock and it's just an absolute blatant scam here to sell paper. But I kind of assume most of these things are here to do that. And when you get something that like crushes the stock like that, what they can do in the pre-market is use their money to, give the stock a little bit of a bid and get a gap up going and bring in more buyers. And because when you want to sell, you need someone on the other side buying. So this could be a gap up that is enticing people to, look at the structure and say, okay, the shorts are going to get squeezed, and then they can, sell whatever they weren't able to sell because the volume dried up into close yesterday into today's morning action. And we see that happen often with these dilutive stocks. The question is, like, is EVO a dilutive stock? I don't know anything about it, but I would kind of raise an eye because it is just a sketchy IPO China stock.
Yeah. Not a lot on here. It's pretty much yesterday. You're playing off of yesterday's area, yesterday's levels. And it looks like a significant gap per day, up 88% right now. But versus what it did yesterday, this is really just a small blip. We aren't even to the bounce highs from the afternoon yesterday before heading from 8 down to 3. So we'll see what kind of action Yibo has today. I think probably best case scenario for most short sellers would be a significant morning spike into the 8, 9, 10 area, which I do think should be met with some serious level of resistance. Alrighty, let's take a look. Also want to let you guys know we have a boot camp coming up in Los Angeles, March 22nd through the 24th. If you've never been to one of our boot camps, it's a great time. Full of community. All the Clovers are there. Special guests. We do in-person presentations on Saturday and Sunday, Q&As, watch list building, roundtable, and then Monday we live trade. And throughout the entire period, you have access to us to be able to sit down, ask us questions. We'll have a cocktail hour. You'll have access to our guests as well. And it's just a really immersive experience. And information on that is at the Clover Trading website, clovertrading.io. If that interests you, head on over there and get your tickets locked up. Take a question or two right now. 123 Drummer Max says, Dom, did you take DWTX yesterday for a first green day? It was on my watch list. I ended up not taking it. The last week and a half, I've really just been not interested in clicking a lot of buttons. It just feels wrong. But this was on my watch list, and this is one that will go as technically a miss because the pattern ended up working out, and I sat there and watched it and decided not to trade it. The whole plan for me was to buy the 5-minute high break and risk low day. The problem I was having was that it was like a 20 to 40 cent spread before it broke through that 1090s area. Green was up in the 11s, I believe, so you kind of had a trigger before a red-green trigger. The main issue for me was just it was down. It's like over, what is this? 970 to 1090s, over $1 a share of risk. My goal was the 14s. So yeah, it ended up going over to 21s. I would have definitely not been a part of it. still there. But it was more of just the spread at that time. It felt like if it went in the other direction and I bought the high day break with that type of spread, it could have just easily broken low day as it did high day. But it went straight up into a halt up and then grabbed some momentum and went higher. But sometimes when they're not perfect, I'm okay missing them. And this is one of those situations where risk was kind of wide and the spread was a little interesting. I don't even know if I would have filled on the break of high day. Went straight from 1090s to 1130 and halted up. So there's a chance even if I tried, I wouldn't have gotten filled. Huddie, if stock is close but doesn't gap enough for you to short it at open, would you trade it if it makes a push at the open, or no trade because it didn't gap high enough?
If it doesn't meet my criteria, I will not trade it. It doesn't matter if it's 0.03% lower. If it doesn't meet the criteria, I'm not trading it. It's got to fit in my box.
If it doesn't fit in your box, then you give it to Larry.
I'll let someone else trade it. I don't care. Because I want my trades to emulate the data that shows me I have a profitable strategy on paper. So if I'm starting to, trade things that aren't in the data, then I'm not going to match the data. And I don't want to beat the data. I don't want to supersede the data. I just want to trade exactly what the data is so I can emulate the profitable strategy. So it's taken me a while, but now if it's in the criteria, I trade it. And if there's anything minutely wrong with it, I'm very blessed to not trade. I don't have to take the risk.
You want to be the data, right?
I want to be the data.
See the data, be the data. All right. Those are all the biggest gappers. Those are your guys' questions. You are free to ask as many questions as you want. Take advantage of this time. We are for free on YouTube, having a good time each morning. And if you don't ask questions, then we don't have anything to answer if we run out of gappers. But we are at the time. Someone says DXF gap. I couldn't want anything less to do with something like this. I don't quite understand what it is. I think I saw it had... Oh, no. That float says 0.22. 220K. That's not sketchy at all. This is just a wild mover on a weird daily chart. Sometimes I find it really hard, Huddy, to explain why I don't like something just by looking at it, but...
Which ticker?
DXF.
It's not real.
What is it?
It's I think it's I think it's some type of bank stock, and they loan to technology companies, but it's not trading real volume. I wouldn't really consider it in play. I don't think it has the attention or the interest of the players. It looks like
insane range on a 220K float.
Yeah, I just wouldn't go anything like this type of daily trade. Like I wouldn't go anywhere near this. I don't want it in my life. I'm gonna pretend it doesn't exist.
Everything about this looks dangerous. Yeah, that's a breakout that I won't be buying if it breaks out over 36. It's a weird one. I don't care that it's gapping.
Yeah, no, me either. There's no data when you go to Yahoo Finance. Like this, it's just freaking weird, man. You don't want that stuff in your life.
No. P Daddy says, "What do you all do with free time in slow markets like this besides study, talking hobbies and such?"
Work.
Winter time, there's not a lot of hobbies.
I work on other stuff.
Huddy's working on his book, Be the Man You Want to Be in 7 years from now today, right?
No, the title is Breakfast of Champions.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's summertime, I'm happy to golf, go fishing on the boat, do something else. Now I think wintertime is a great time to study. You're already kind of stuck inside. Optimize a pattern, backtest something you've always been wondering about. Try to dive deep into a strategy that someone else trades and does well at, and try to figure out the edge.
Buy a DVD. I know Lance just came out with his DVD. Like that could be a good thing to study.
All right, everybody. That's going to do it for us today. It's 9:20, 9:19 right now. So we're going to head on over to the Clover room. You got to watch this with me. A webinar with me, 4-Leaf Clovers, at 11 a.m. today. So we'll talk about whatever's moving, whatever you guys want to talk about, as always. Any last minute words, Jim?
Yeah, I kind of said it earlier. I feel good when I don't have trades every day. I've had a good month so far, so I would kind of like the month to end now and not take a single more loss in the next 3 days. I'm happy with my numbers. But again, if my pattern shows up, the numbers could get better and they can get worse, and I'm going to play those odds. I'm going to play that game, but I'm not going to force myself into a situation, right? That's I'd rather get up from the computer sooner, get to the gym, get to the to-do list, shut down the charts as soon as possible. And if it's not possible because there's blatantly, objectively a play in front of me, I'm going to take the risk. But I'm also excited to not take the risk. And I feel like that was very different when I first started trading. I was always excited to trade, excited to put money on the table. And I think it's easier to be excited to do that when the numbers are smaller. But now that, I can lose $15,000-$20,000 in a day, I'm just not excited to do that it's going to happen, right? Like there's no avoiding it. That's my risk structure. So, again, I'm excited when there's no trades, and when there is a trade, I'm like, God damn it, but I'll trade it because it can make money. So that's my perspective these days is I'm excited to get up as soon as possible, unless I have to stay, in which case I will.
All right, fantastic, amazing, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow, 9:15 a.m. with Kyle for a little bit of live trading. Bring your questions, bring your good vibes, bring your happy spirits. And all you 4-leaf clovers, I will see you at 11 a.m. for a webinar with me. Have a wonderful day, everybody.